Welcome to this week's edition of Smart Counsel for Lunch. I'm Leah Kofis, and I'm one of the attorneys here at the law firm of Samuel, Steward, and Baylor in Dedham, Massachusetts, where we focus our practice in the areas of estate planning, probate, elder law, and estate and trust administration. This week, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about fiduciaries. A fiduciary is one of the people that you've named to serve as an agent in your documents, a healthcare proxy, power of attorney, your will, your trust. Um, and the various agents are, in those documents are your healthcare agent, your attorney in fact in your power of attorney, your trustee in your trust, and then in your will, you have your personal representative, formerly known as executor, and then you have your guardians of minor children, guardians and conservators. So, how do you choose all of those people? It's a big decision to make, and a lot of our clients come to us either knowing exactly who they're going to pick or they have no idea who they're going to pick, right? You're kind of on two sides of the same coin. So this week, for this week's article, I wanted to talk a little bit about how to choose those fiduciaries, and then common pitfalls that people experience in choosing fiduciaries. So I'll give you a short version here. If you want to read the longer version, you can go to my article for this week on our website. But a couple of the really important things to think about when you're considering who to pick as a fiduciary are going to be trustworthiness, and then organizational skills. All right, those are the two big ones for anybody dealing with finances. You don't have to have a professional attorney to be your trustee. You can, or a professional trust company to be your trustee. You can do that if you happen to know one who wants to serve, but typically people pick family or close friends or somebody who knows them. That's a huge, huge consideration, is who knows you best and who you think is going to be reliable enough to carry out your wishes. All right. So organizational skills and trustworthiness are really the two big things to consider when picking a fiduciary. So it all depends on the document that you are talking about. Your healthcare agent and your healthcare proxy is not necessarily going to be the same person that you pick as your attorney in fact in your power of attorney. They're two very different roles, and you want to pick somebody to fit the role. You don't want to just pick somebody and say, all right, you're doing all of these things. Now, it may be that you're picking the same order of people in every single document you have. That's just your most trusted family member or friend. You think that they're, compassionate, they'll carry out your wishes, they'll stay composed when making big, medical decisions and things like that. So they might all be the same person, but not necessarily. Now, some issues that people run into when naming trustees, letting emotion lead your decision-making process rather than choosing somebody for their own capability in that role. So you want to make sure that you don't just pick somebody because you like them best, or you don't pick somebody because maybe you're thinking about, you have three kids and you want to name each of them in order of age. That might be fine, and that might end up being what you do. But in a lot of cases, you might pick the youngest as your first agent. You might pick the middle as your last agent, right? Whatever you're doing, you want to make sure to really look at each of those people that you're considering for these roles and almost think of it, think of them kind of in a vacuum, right? And what do they do? How are they going to represent you and your wishes and, carry out your estate plan? Another thing that people often overlook is family dynamics. You don't necessarily want one child being the trustee for all of your children's trusts if they don't all get along. That might cause some issues. You aren't always going to know your family dynamics later on, right? These things are going to be evolving, ever evolving. Your relationships with these people and their relationships with each other aren't necessarily going to be the same today as they will be 20 years from now. So it's expected that you're going to revisit these every so often, and then pick the right people for those roles at that time in your life. But you know what your family dynamics are today. And so make your decisions with that in mind. So the last thing I wanted to mention is, if you want to read more about the fiduciaries and how to pick fiduciaries, who to name, what to consider, you can read my article. It is on our website. We put out new content every week, and that's this week's content. But the last thing I wanted to mention was so you may know this, we had a seminar last month for the pitfalls of probate. We held it in our office, and that was a big success. So we decided that we wanted to have another seminar this upcoming month. So in November, on November 6th, we are going to have a new seminar. The title of the seminar, the content of the seminar is going to be estate planning for young families. So if you know somebody, even if you're a client of ours, if you know somebody who might be interested in this seminar, feel free to send them our way. It'll be again held in our office. Again, it's going to be at 6 p.m. But we'll be talking about guardians. We'll be talking about also avoiding probate. So if you're a client of ours and you know somebody, even one of your adult children who just had kids of their own, if you're a new grandparent, send them our way, and they might learn something from us at that time. And of course, we'll be taking questions and everything at that. So yeah, I think it'll be a good opportunity to learn some new information about estate planning and see what might be worth it to them and what they might want to consider. So that's it. As always, it was a pleasure talking to all of you, and I'll see you next week.